Hi, so it's Pride Month, so I wanted to make a video about a group that's facing a lot of hate at the moment. So, let's talk about trans people, yeah? Welcome, everyone, to my orgy. Now, you get some really weird transphobes that sort of go with this whole, well, it's 4th grade science, and yeah, you learn about that sort of stuff in year 4, and the reason, I guess, for that is because when people are kids, they're idiots. And you're American, because I did that accent, so it's even worse. So yes, you do learn about this stuff in a way that's very oversimplified when you're in the 4th grade, right? That is not a reflection of reality. That's just a reflection of how it was taught to you. For example, people say things like, you're either XX or XY. And if you're XX, then you're a girl, and you have a vagina and ovaries. And if you have XY, then you're a boy, and you have a penis and testes and all that jazz. And that's not really accurate either. It can be, but it doesn't have to be, right? You can have XY chromosomes and the testosterone build up to give you a mane and antlers and whatever else. But you could, for example, have androgen insensitivity syndrome, which could give you a vagina and ovaries. Using 4th grade science to justify transphobia is about as useful as using a pencil sharpener to mow the lawn. People will complain about the word transphobia, because a phobia is an irrational fear, and being transphobic isn't being irrationally afraid of trans people, right? So it doesn't really work. That's the weirdest complaint you could have about that word. Lipid molecules are amphiphilic, meaning one end is hydrophilic and one end is hydrophobic. It's like a magnet, basically. One end is attracted to water, one end is repelled by them. It's not like the lipid molecules have an irrational fear of water. People get confused about, trans people and what the issues are, I think. Because you hear a lot of people, and this happens on both sides of the fence, you hear a lot of people talking about evidence. This argument is not about what the evidence points to, it's about how you define these words. If you define gender as a cultural societal identity, then trans people are valid. If you define gender as what's in your pants, then they aren't. And I know you're gonna have some transphobe in the comments going, well, you could identify as an Apache attack helicopter. I mean, first of all, you've been saying that since 2015. You're beating a dead horse. Except, you're not even doing that, right? Because, that was never a good joke. I don't think anyone ever laughed when they heard that, even you making it now. You never laughed when you first heard that from whoever it was that you stole that from, right? That joke was dead before they killed it. You're not even beating a dead horse at this point, you're just pummeling an aborted horse fetus. It's a dumb joke from the start, and you never hear that joke from people on the other side. Or I guess the opposing joke. You never hear people who are pro-trans rights, who say things like, if gender is what's in your pants, then, my gender is a butthole. Eat shit, Republicans. You don't hear that. The argument here is not about what the science says. This is my point. It's about definitions. It's about how we ought to define these words. Specifically the word gender. You need a reason why these definitions ought to apply to these words. And I get that definitions are arbitrary. that's what a definition is. It's an arbitrary assigning of a meaning to a set of letters. But we need reasons in order to formulate arguments. I have found zero reason to define gender as what's in your pants. And I'm going to put up a conversation I had in a YouTube comment section about this. And all this person could think of was, well, that's just how it is, isn't it? Gender, being defined as a culturally enforced identity. It makes people very happy, specifically trans people, other people as well. If you've not fallen down a rabbit hole of watching LGBTQ+ TikToks of, trans people, in just sheer joy at having their gender identity enforced, that is the most wonderful thing you'll ever see in your life. And the other thing is, it significantly lowers the suicide rate among trans people. I'm going to put some stats on the screen, but yeah, treating trans people as the gender identity that they identify with, yeah, that saves lives. It is therefore, I would say, a good thing that we define gender as a culturally enforced sense of identity. If you can keep it civil, then you can share whatever views you have on the subject in the comments. If you're not capable of that, I'm just gonna delete your comment. Regardless of what side you take, you can agree with me. If you're being an asshole, I'm gonna delete your comment. If you do raise an interesting point, but word it in a way that is uncivil, let's say, I will retype your point in my own comment with my thoughts on the matter in a way that is worded better.